Hey everyone, today is April 22nd, 2021, and today's card of the day is Powered Gauntlets. We're going to continue our aggressive cards week and talk about cards that work well with aggression, and I think Powered Gauntlets from the core set is one of those cards. So it's a 2-cost upgrade in Iron Man's hero kit from the Marvel Champions core set, and it's a consistent source of ping damage. And by that I mean little points of 1-point damage, things that are good at removing tough, things that are good at getting rid of Ultron drones and stuff like that. So Powered Gauntlets, it's an armor tech traded upgrade, so it is going to increase Iron Man's hand size, which is good. It says hero action attack. Exhaust Powered Gauntlets, deal 1 damage to an enemy. 2 damage instead if you have the aerial trait. So this counts as your hero attacking, and this is one of the reasons this card works so well in aggression style decks. So I picked out 4 cards that I think combo with Powered Gauntlets really well. The first card here, Yarnbjorn. After your hero attacks an enemy, spend a physical resource to deal 2 damage to an enemy. So if you get both sets of Powered Gauntlets out and your arc reactor, in theory Iron Man could attack 4 times a turn for 1 damage each. But then he could pour 4 physical resources into 8 damage that ignores guard, that ignores stunned, although I guess you have to attack to do it, so it doesn't really ignore stunned, but you get the picture. It gets around a bunch of the limitations and is a really good resource to damage investment. So if you can get that set up, you are rocking and rolling. You just need a ton of physical resources. And if you can go aerial instead, you could do 6 damage across your 4 attacks, plus the last 4 resources in your hand could all be physicals to pay for Yarnbjorn. At that point, you're dealing, I guess it's 8 plus 6, so 14 damage around. If you're doing 14 damage around, you're probably sitting pretty happy in the pre-Galaxy's Most Wanted world. So what other card this works well with is Chase Them Down. After your hero attacks and defeats an enemy, you have to be attacking to use Chase Them Down. So you can't defeat an enemy with Yarnbjorn, you can't defeat them with an ally because that's not your hero. Powered Gauntlets counts as your hero attacking. So after your hero attacks and defeats an enemy, remove 2 threat from a scheme. So if you've got lots of Powered Gauntlets out there, you can trigger and defeat enemies and do all sorts of things with Chase Them Down. Likewise, you can use Battle Fury after your hero attacks and defeats an enemy. Deal 1 damage to your hero, discard Battle Fury, ready your hero. That can be used as an extra boost of Thwart in Iron Man's kit, because you have 2 Thwart on Iron Man's base ability. Once you get Arc Reactor, you can do 4 a turn. Well, with Battle Fury, if you can ping off an Ultron drone or something small and tiny like a Hydra Bomber, you're now able to ready and remove 2 extra threats, 6 threat per round, which is bonkers crazy. Finally, Hall of Heroes. I think Hall of Heroes is the perfect example of why Powered Gauntlets work so well against swarming characters like Mutagen Formula and Ultron. When there's a ton of minions and enemies out there, after you defeat a minion, place a glory counter here. Well, if the team you're playing with can get a bunch of minions down to 1 health or 2 health, you can then use Powered Gauntlets, and it's your hero using the gauntlets, so it is after you defeat an enemy, you can ping an Ultron drone, maybe a Repulsor Blast some big minion, and get 3 glory counters in 1 turn, which is obviously really, really strong. The last thing you can do, which isn't pictured here, is you can actually remove stunned with Powered Gauntlets. So stun can be really annoying when you have your supersonic punches and your Repulsor Blasts and you're ready to roll, and sometimes you don't want to exhaust Iron Man to clear your stunned because you'd rather be removing 4 threat around. Well, Powered Gauntlets can be used to clear that stunned, which opens the way for Iron Man's big attack events. So, just some common rules goofs. Don't exhaust your hero to use these actions. It's a common question that comes up on a lot of cards. Can I use this without exhausting my hero? If it doesn't say exhaust your hero, you don't have to do that. So hero action, exhaust Powered Gauntlets. That's the only cost, is just exhausting it. So you pay 2 initial resources or 3 true cost, then you can exhaust the gauntlets and they are good to go for the rest of the game. If you're going to try to do that 2 bonus damage, you don't trigger it mid-ability. There's an ability on Iron Man's rocket boots. You have to trigger that before using your Power Gauntlets. So remember to trigger aerial before use if you want to get that 2 damage out, not mid-ability or something like that. Although at the end of the day, this is a co-op game, so if you've used 2 upgrades in slightly the wrong order, you can probably just rewind it yourself and fix that without much consequence happening. So, Powered Gauntlets generates a bunch of attacks, and that's one thing you should look out for when you're making an aggression deck. If you have a character that can make a bunch of attacks, whether it be Black Panther with Wakanda Forever, Powered Gauntlets on Iron Man, or all sorts of things like that, all those extra attacks work really well with those 4 aggression cards we talked about. So, tomorrow we'll wrap up Aggression Week with discussing 1 more aggression card, and then we'll move on to a new aspect next week.